Steve here with Table Rock Tea Company. Today I am in Legacy Field. I'm going to bring you a pro tip by way of mistake. Okay, so this is kind of a do as I say, not as I do, but not quite. And I'll explain in just a second. So I'm out here today. I was out here this morning trying to get out here before noon when the sun is too hot to do some weed eating in between rows. Now, if you've been watching our videos, you'll know that this field, Legacy Field, is one of the most difficult fields we have to actually get planted. It was an old cotton field, and then it was pine forest, and then it was cut. And anyway, it's just a really dry, harsh field. It's got a lot of wind, it's got a lot of sun, and it's just not very nice for new plants to go in. Every time we seem to plant it, they just get hammered, and it's been very hard to get to establish this field. Now, what we ended up doing was going through, and I did a video a while back on weed management, weed control. And one of the theories, and I believe I've just proven it out actually, is as far as weeding goes, let the weeds grow. If you do a weed management in the beginning of the season and then one at the end, you know, after the first frost in the fall, so everything looks nice for winter, whatever, pretty much you've got it, because the tea, which is evergreen basically, is going to outpace those weeds, and eventually they'll get so big anyway, like our bigger ones. I don't know if you can see behind me, but those will crowd out the weeds and you'll be running up and down the rows harvesting anyway. So you won't really have any weed issues. It's just the first like 3-4 years that you're gonna have problems with weeds. So let me show you what we do and what I did and what I think that means, okay? So over here, up in Legacy Field, hopefully you guys can see, we basically got to the point where we couldn't manage it anymore. And so I came in with a mower in between the rows, and you can see these rows, most of these are weeds, okay? These are all just almost solid weeds. However, in those weeds are tiny tea plants, okay? So even ones that got really hammered now have found protection in the weeds. And that's why we say leave the weeds, because what they're going to do is provide shade. They're going to provide wind protection. They're going to provide moisture retention. And if you don't believe me on the moisture retention, I'm just going to go down here. These are my pants from weed eating. This is solid wet from here, just from the weeds, you know, getting whacked, so to speak. It's nice and dry today, and still my pants are saturated. So weeds really do retain a ton of moisture. Now, I kind of got a little bit annoyed at the way it was looking, so I decided to go ahead and do some weed eating. And what I ended up discovering was exactly what I had researched and suspected. So even though these are small, these are tea plants in here, okay? So I was able to free those up. Now, I'm kind of regretting, and that's maybe where the mistake is, I'm regretting freeing those up, because now these little plants are kind of exposed and we're just getting into summer. So I'm really hoping that they're established enough, praying for rain and all of that. So I just stopped after 4 rows. I was like, you know, the theory is good, hold to the theory. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna let all of the rest of these weeds continue to grow. We'll continue to mow inside of the rows so that we don't lose track of where the rows are. But then in the fall, what'll happen is all of these weeds are gonna brown out, and all of the tea is gonna stay green. And that'll make it a whole lot easier so that I don't end up mistakenly weed whacking one of the actual plants that we want to keep. So anyway, hope that makes sense. Like I said, kind of a pro tip by mistake. So if you have an inkling to do weed control, I would say, look, just mow between the rows, but leave the weeds inside the rows pretty much through the year. And once those plants get mature, it's not going to be much of an issue anyway. So hope that helps you. Thanks again for watching. Stay tuned to see what else is brewing here at Table Rock Tea Company.